What's something weird slash funny slash embarrassing you've done on autopilot? I used to work in a factory, starting at 6 a.m., so I'd have to get out of bed around 5:15 each morning. There was one morning when I got up, had my breakfast and left as usual, drove round the corner to the garage where I would buy my lunch. It seemed a lot quieter than usual, but being half asleep myself, it only half registered. Then I got back in my car and noticed the time. I was awake 3 hours early. FML. I went home and back to bed for a couple of hours. I kissed my wife's best friend. It was totally innocent, and something we laughed about. I had to take a bus to work every day at about 4 a.m. My wife usually drove me to the stop so that I didn't have to leave my car there for 14 hours. My wife's friend was staying with us while she looked for a job and house in the area. She was getting up early anyways, so she decided she would take me and let my wife sleep. When we got to the stop, I just instinctively leaned over and kissed her goodbye. She had a dumbfounded look on her face, and mine instantly turned red as I realized what I'd done. I just said sorry, it was a habit. My wife poked fun at me for days for putting the moves on her friend. Ha ha. My husband basically did this to his buddy when driving to drill one morning. He reached over, gave his buddy's thigh a squeeze, then paused wondering why my pants were so stiff. Until he realized they weren't my pants and he just touched his friend's upper thigh. Edit, paid to paused. I've worked as a caregiver for adults with mental and physical disabilities for more than a decade now. I'm a caregiver. I do basic cares, which include helping many adult men do their daily activities, things like shaving, buttoning shirts, making sure belts are on correctly, so on and so forth. Once on a date, I was a bit buzzed. I fixed my date's shirt, and told him he needed to look in the mirror and see if he wanted a shave. I've only been working as a caregiver for 2 months, and I'm already doing this sort of thing. Ha ha ha. It only gets worse. Prepare yourself for endless embarrassment. I had a client who would claw at his own face, so every time he raised his hands, I would gently move them away before he could hurt himself. I stopped so many friends from touching their face, and I always felt like an idiot. Someone would reach up to brush their hair away from their face. I would quickly grab their hand, and do a silly sort of dance while holding it, always made him laugh and clap, and forget about scratching. Not my best moments. I said no babes you're wrong to my boss at a management meeting 2 weeks ago because I was daydreaming about my boyfriend. Kill.me.now. Edit, I said this to a comment he made, kind of like hearing and seeing one person, but thinking about another. I hope this makes sense, not sure how to explain, it didn't go unnoticed. It was slow and painful. I tried to save it along the lines of didn't want you to hit reality all that hard, so I let you down nice and slowly. I then looked at everyone else and basically said it is really just a question of time until I call you all babes BTW. Awkward to the max. But thank you all. My wife says she once ate pizza at a friend's house and, out of habit, threw the crust on the floor for the dog. Those friends didn't have a dog. I have set my plate on the floor for my dog to lick clean. We put our dog down in October. Never been sadder to have to rinse food bits off my own dishes, man. Edit, thanks for the silver, mate. I dedicate it to the very good boys who are with us and those who have moved on ahead. Edit 2, woke up to Reddit gold. Thank you, internet wise man. Does Reddit give out frankincense and myrrh too? My dog's favorite part of the day is dinner time. I pull out her food, she starts wagging and doing the tippy taps, get a scoop of food, and instead of going to her bowl I dump the full scoop into the trash can. She then just looked at me with the saddest eyes and I felt terrible, so she got a little bit extra food and some pets. I work with a phone and radio at work and have answered my phone with bass go ahead and my radio blank county transit. Have also had my radio go off and pick up my to-go cup of coffee and use it to try and answer. I use a straw in my coffee and in my half-awake mind it was the antenna. At the gym, there is an arm curl machine. Typically I do a heavy amount, but that day I was tired and pretty brain dead. As I used the machine, I didn't realize that there was no weight on it, and I tried curling it with effort as normal. I ended up slamming myself in the head with the bar, and everyone in the gym heard it. Edit thanks for the upvotes. Everything. Yesterday I was worried if they'd fit, so I wanted to find out first, put them all into my backpack and then went my merry way without a second thought. Just today I went to the grocery store, packed everything into my backpack at self-checkout and went home. As soon as I got home I remembered I never actually paid. Edit, to all those asking if I went back and paid, I did. As soon as I noticed, I went back, swiped my card in the self-checkout and got it over with. Nobody had even noticed. The store is about 300 meters from my apartment complex. For clarification, as to how I got away with it, the self-checkout works by swiping your personal discount card, then grabbing a scanner that lights up. You scan all your items before putting them into your cart/basket. When you're done, you put the scanner back, then go to one of the self-checkout registers, swipe your discount card again to create a bill to pay, then pay it using your debit card. I did everything except swipe my card and pay, since I usually do all this before packing. For me it was, pay, take bags, walk home. Get home, wait. I drove, didn't I? I left the car in the parking lot. I walked and took the bus for practically all of my 20s, so it was muscle memory to walk home. I got my license at age 25 after moving from the city to a tiny town. I was so used to walking everywhere that one day I drove somewhere, forgot I'd driven and walked back to work. Finished work, thought, oh, my car's not there, must have walked in today, so walked home. Got home, car's not there, thought, oh, must have left it at mum's. It wasn't there, wasn't at the shops or the pool. I was too embarrassed to ask anyone if they had seen it and had absolutely no idea where I'd left it, so just kept walking everywhere for 3 or 4 days. Eventually my housemate spotted it and asked if I was ever going to pick it up. I always take my shirt off after my shoes when I get undressed. So there I was at around 4:30 in the morning, headed through security to fly across country for a festival. I'm nowhere close to awake and I'm totally running on autopilot. I'm throwing my stuff on the conveyor, I take my shoes off, and I started to take my shirt off and the FFSY was she attractive, TSA lady was like, slow down sir, we just met. I didn't know they came with a sense of humor. Reposting my own comment from a few years ago in a similar thread, because I still think this is my best response to this question. Came into work to work front of house after several extended nights of profound insomnia. I was holding up okay until a gal walks up with a dog in her arms. I always chat people up about their dogs because A, dogs are awesome, and B, people love to talk about their dogs, and often tip a little more when they feel like they've actually connected with you. Today though, I didn't have two neurons to rub together to break from the script of "Hey, what can I get you? Here's your total. Do you want a receipt?" And so I lean over the counter like a drunk, lock my sleep-starved, unfocused googly eyes on this poor lady, and blurt out, "Your dog? Who is he?" and then expectantly stare at her like that was a normal and not at all insane thing that I just kinda vomited at her. She kinda stared at me and clutched her dog a little closer, and I think I probably went a little cross-eyed and tried to salvage the conversation by talking more. I don't remember what I said, but it was definitely not an improvement on the situation. It may not have even been a coherent sentence. Go to check the mail, grab the keys, oh yeah. There is garbage/recycling that needs to go out. I stop at mailbox, I get mail, throw away the garbage, throw away the mail, throw away my keys. Neighbor asks if I am going to need those. I just kind of stop, look around a bit and say, well, yeah, probably. I used to work on a farm and we always took our boots off before entering the homestead for meal breaks. One afternoon I absent-mindedly unbuttoned my jeans and started to take them off instead of my boots. I guess my brain decided I was done for the day. You're not alone. As I recall, there was a baseball player who did something like this. He slid into first, dusted off his pants, then pulled them down, presumably some dirt had gotten in, while on the field before remembering where he was. It was during a game, and everything. There's a video of it somewhere. I was really high and paranoid. My friend was leaving my apartment. He said something along the lines of "all right, later on dude." And I didn't feel capable, so I did a weird circular motion with my arms, snapped both fingers into finger guns at him, then winked. Why? As a teenager, I worked at McDonald's. My McDonald's was 24 hours and, during the summer, I worked the overnight shift. My sleep schedule would get all messed up. My parents woke me up for dinner one evening. I zombie walked to the table and sat down. My dad asked me to say grace. I bow my head and say, "Thank you for choosing McDonald's, may I take your order?" A very long pause. I ended up sleeping in the parking lot of that McDonald's for about 12 hours in my car. The manager eventually knocked on my window, and asked me if I was homeless and if I needed to come in and warm up. I used to work for Comcast in their call center. I worked 3 p.m. to 12 a.m., so the only thing that was open when I would get off work was McDonald's. During the holidays they have unlimited overtime. Me being 19 and having no obligations at the time, decided to just work non-stop until I fell down at my desk. I worked 3 days straight of OT, taking my mandatory breaks every couple of hours and napping in the lunchroom here and there. Finally I decided I'd had enough and started on my way home at around 2 a.m. one morning. I stopped at the McDonald's drive-thru because I wanted something hot to eat. Up until this point I'd subsisted on mints and packs of crackers from a vending machine. The conversation went something like this. "Drive-thru lady, go ahead and order when you're ready." Me, "Thanks for calling Comcast, home of the triple play, my name is Bailey 200, how can I assist you today?" I used to work multiple jobs, and for a while I was working at Stop and Shop and Dunkin' Donuts. Answering the drive-through at Dunkin'. Thank you for calling Stop and Shop, how can I help you? Later that day at Stop and Shop, to someone in my line. Welcome to Dunkin' Donuts, what can I get for you? That was not a great day for my self-confidence. I just finished getting my hair cut and walked out to get into my car. I got into the back seat and sat there for a minute before realizing that I drove myself there. Worst part was the salon has a glass storefront and I was parked front and center. Edit, thanks for the gold kind stranger. Most cringe moment of my adult life probably. I finally got a job as a wine consultant that I had been trying to get for years. It was just a position at our local grocery store, but our wine department was the best in town, so I was pumped. Doing a great job and getting regulars at my tastings and shit. One day I get to do a tasting with a fairly expensive bottle of champagne, around $130. I opened the bottle and it starts to fizz over, wasn't cooled enough yet. And my instant reaction is to start chugging it because that's what you do when that happens with a beer or soda. But this was champagne. Expensive champagne. And I'm chugging it in the middle of the sales floor, while on clock, in a grocery store. Still cringe when I think about it. Edit, holy shit my inbox. I'll try to get some of these replies out. Also thanks for the silver. My wife works at an elementary school, and had been covering lunch to give teachers a break. We went out to an ice cream place with extended family, including 9 kids. All the kids were saying they wanted this or that, and my wife speaks up in her lunchroom voice to say every kid is getting the same size ice cream, all of you line up and tell the lady at the counter what flavor you want. It wasn't just heard by our family, it silenced the entire restaurant. We still give her hell about it years later. I had a deadline and I was very sleep deprived. I drank a lot of coffee, so I had to visit the loo a lot. One particular visit late at night, I went to wash my hands as usual, but the tap wouldn't budge. I kept turning it, yet no water would come out. So I did what most adults would do when that happens. I started crying and called for someone to check it, saying that I broke the tap in between gasps. Boyfriend walked to the sink and magically fixed the tap. I was turning it the wrong way. Got in my car to buy groceries and drove the 45 minutes to work. P.S. But the actually embarrassing one is when you are a home care nurse and you walk into one of your patients' home at 9 p.m. expecting them to have milk and bread in stock. I did something similar some years ago. I waked up without alarm, had breakfast, took a bath and drove half-hour to my work feeling great. I even thought during the way, lucky me, the traffic is very nice today, just to arrive there and to the security greet me with a good morning mister, working even in the holiday. Edit, wrong words. I work with preschoolers and we sing songs to help them wash their hands, and I started singing the same song when I went out with some friends to a bar. Edit, thanks for the silver, friend. Edit 2, the song goes wash, wash, wash your hands, wash them every day. Scrub, scrub, scrub the germs and wash them down the drain, to the tune of Row Your Boat. Reminds me of the time I went on a first date with a girl I met online who was working with preschoolers as part of her training to become a teacher. She treated me like a preschooler. Whenever I told any kind of story, she had to give me a yay and extra soft patty cake style double high fives. I'm quite certain my body language made my discomfort very clear, but she was not deterred. There was no second date. I was feeling an encroaching sickness coming upon me one time, so I decided to be proactive and make myself a couple of days worth of the most baller chicken soup I could manage in advance, so I'd be able to eat well even when I was dying of the lurgy. I chopped the carrots, I sorted the onions, I stewed the chicken bones, and I cooked that motherfucker down for 8 hours into the most delicious stock you could imagine. Then I poured it all through a colander into the sink. Not me, but years ago my friend was making gravy for his meal. It had turned a bit lumpy in the saucepan, and he had the brilliant idea to just strain the lumps out. So he holds a strainer over the sink drain and pours the gravy through. Great job, he thinks, very pleased with himself because of how he had caught all the nasty lumps so effectively. Then it slowly dawned on him that his gravy was all down the sink, and he was holding a strainer full of gravy lumps. Right after high school, I worked as a pharmacy technician during the week and a waitress on weekends. Sometimes I'd waitress a dinner shift during the week, and the next day, without fail, I'd almost always answer the phone at the pharmacy saying thank you for calling Pizza Hut. Brown's Pharmacy? I was late to my first day of work. Autopilot me chose to go to my previous employer of 15 years where I had quit. I realized about 5 minutes before getting there and had to drive about 25 minutes back in the direction I came from. Old job was about 30 minutes depending on traffic, new job was about 5. Same industry, new co-workers just laughed it off. 15 years of the same commute, same truck, same tools, just another Monday on autopilot. I heard the doorbell go the moment I stepped out of the shower. Without thinking I rushed to answer the door, forgetting that I was dripping wet and completely naked. The poor delivery guy didn't know where to look and it took me a moment to realize what situation I was in. I tried putting the milk bottle back in the microwave, then got mad when it didn't fit. I only stopped trying cause my brother was there watching and he started laughing. Oh no, haha. I was imagining like a tiny bottle of milk and then was like, how did it not fit? I've been there, I'm always putting cutlery in the fridge and things from the fridge in the cutlery drawer. Found the remote in the fridge once. Still not sure how I did that. Edit. Thanks for the gold, kind stranger. My fiancé loves those Jimmy Dean breakfast bowls, and he usually just puts the salt in the microwave so he can just make them and leave for work. More than once have I been looking for the salt only to find it hours or days later in the microwave. I also have a toddler, so now my life is finding weird stuff on places they don't belong. My shoes are a treasure trove. Edit. I was very confused as why every kept asking why he puts it in the microwave, and it was my bad. For clarity, he keeps the salt on top of the microwave. Oh God. This makes me want to die. My ex-boyfriend and I had this thing where we take things out of context and make them mushy. Like I might say tonight's sunset is really beautiful, and he'd say, no, you're really beautiful. Or ouch. This soup is so hot would be answered with ouch. You are so hot. Once my co-worker sampled one of our coffee creamers, made a face and said, that's far too sweet. I automatically responded with, no, you're far too sweet, imitating his voice and face while still working at my desk. When I looked up after realizing I said it aloud, his eyes were pretty wide. Full on autopilot. My mom hated when I slept in the living room. If she found me sleeping there, she would always wake me up and tell me to go to my room. Well, one morning she thanked me for being so nice and agreeable. I asked her what she was talking about. She told me when she got home I was sleeping on the sofa and she told me to get up. Well, I was told I got up right away and with no argument went upstairs. My mom said she asked me if I had taken my meds, and when I told her no, I walked right into the bathroom and took them, wished her a good night and went to bed. I remembered none of it, so it seems I not only slept walk, but also slept, talked and slept self-medicated. Not sure if this counts as autopilot, but I was about 14 at school, and we had this classmate who had Down syndrome. He kept saying "suck my dick" and a bunch of us couldn't help but laugh. When time came for our teacher to do the register, she called out my name. Instead of saying "Here, miss," I said "suck my," but managed to stop myself by slapping my hand over my mouth. People started laughing, and our teacher couldn't quite make out what I said, wondering why everyone was laughing. One girl saved my ass by telling the teacher that I accidentally said "here, mum" instead of "here, miss." TLDR, classmate keeps saying "suck my dick." So I nearly told my teacher to suck my dick. Girl saves my ass. I was parked in a grocery store lot, looking at my phone when I saw movement in my peripheral vision. I drive a manual, so the anxiety of forgetting the brake is constant. I started frantically pressing the foot brake and pulling on the brake, which was engaged. It took me a second to realize that it was the car next to me pulling out, not me drifting out of my spot. I looked over and the driver was giving me a pure the fuck look. That's so cute. I studied childcare at school and also find myself doing things like this. Mostly things like "oh dear, Freddy, we don't spill beer on our friends, do we?" On the other hand, in nursing school, the second unpardonable sin is talking to patients in baby voice. They drill that in the students so well that every year, some poor student nurse gets laughed at because they started calling 4-year-olds Mr. Jones during the pediatric rotation. P.S. The first unforgivable sin is lying to your preceptor. If you screw up doing a procedure, you need to honestly report it to your professor and they will legally protect you. They are expecting that you will screw up sooner or later. No trainee is perfect. But if you screw up and lie about it to cover your own ass, you will be expelled by the end of the shift. It's that, or fucking with HIPAA. I was at the grocery store using the self-checkout. I scanned over $150 of items, bagged everything, took my items and left without paying. Only while unpacking everything at home, I realized what happened. After calling my credit card company to confirm, I repacked everything up, and returned to the grocery store to check out. Again. Somewhere after the birth of our second or third kid, I went downstairs to heat up a bottle for our crying bundle of joy. I'm guessing they were still under 6 months of age, since they were waking up multiple times a night. Anyway, after a few minutes my wife yelled down to see what was taking so long. I stumbled back upstairs with the bottle and handed it to her. I finally woke up once she yelled at me for bringing her the baby's bottle with a giant chunk of leftover sesame chicken smashed into it, and no baby formula. In my defense, I had heated it up so that it wouldn't be cold. I talk to adults like I talk to my dogs all the time. I use a baby voice towards grown adults. My baby voice is very condescending apparently.